directly. Why do you think that the Eastern media and the Eastern establishment press, etc., why were they so, as you've described, sort of, well, prejudiced against you, do you think?
Well, I could use one of Dean Acheson's famous stories that he told about Johnson. And he didn't say that he meant that the story should apply to me, but with his mustache tweaking as it usually does, or twitching a bit, and with that rather haughty, but as I learned to know him, rather attractive manner of his, he said, I was once talking to Johnson about all these demonstrators and so forth, and Johnson was up in the air because here were the 3 television sets over there, and they were all giving him hell. And I said, Mr. President, I said, what's the matter with you? And Johnson said, look what I do for these people. He says, I give them barbecues. I said, I see them, I talk to them, I've been good to them. I have my Great Society programs and so forth. And Acheson said, I said to him, Mr. President, the trouble is, you want the press to love you, and they won't, because you're not a very lovable man. And I suppose that one of the reasons that the press's attitude toward me through the years has been at times not too favorable, using again your British understatement, that I'm not a very lovable man. I do know this, that if a president, including our present president, President Carter, if a president, when the tough calls have to be made, doesn't take his case to the people over the heads of the media, if necessary, he is going to be chopped down. And that is why Johnson, frankly, was driven out of office. If Johnson had taken his case to the people as I took my case to the people on Vietnam, Johnson would have won in '68, and I would be out here practicing law in California.
But the president has such massive powers, really, that dwarf the 3 networks, don't they?
The point is, the president can go on maybe once a month and get a big audience, maybe twice a month. If he goes on more than that, the Hooper rating really goes down. The networks are on every night. The newspapers are delivered every morning. And consequently, it takes quite an effective speech, may I say, to come across. Your answer, of course, could be, or anybody's answer could be, well, the president should go on every day then. That cheapens the coin of the realm insofar as people wanting to hear the president. I mean, they'd rather tune in Bonanza. I like Bonanza. I don't know. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. They're running reruns now, but they're still pretty good.
Well, maybe you should have been president of a network or chairman of the Washington Post. Do you feel you've had more power?
Oh, yes. At the present time, let's talk about power a moment. I think it's very significant. The greatest concentration of power in the United States today is not in the White House, it isn't in the Congress, and it isn't in the Supreme Court. It's in the media. And it's too much, because it is too concentrated in too small a circle. You have, for example, the Washington Post owning not only the Washington Post, but the major all-news radio station and a television station in Washington and a major national magazine, Newsweek. You have CBS with its affiliates. You have NBC, controlled by one of the largest corporations in the country. You have ABC. You have, of course, Time Inc., and everybody knows their stroke. Now, the point that I make, without going into others like the New York Times, and I don't want to leave out papers in other parts of the country, but when you look at with that concentration of power, let me say, particularly in the television area, in the networks, it's too much. It's too much power, and It's power that the founding fathers would have been very concerned about.